believe that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called the smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side, and he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You know, you talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy, and it's a mistake of the governor, and you could say the administration. They don't have any water. They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. They don't have water, and yet they have. The water comes from
phase. We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, this story involving the Los Angeles wildfires is only getting wilder and wilder and wilder. And the reason why is because it reveals the utter incompetence of Democrats and how they run their states and their cities, okay? I think that is at the point now where we should really start saying that Democrats can't govern, okay? I think it's very clear. The last 4 years of Biden and Kamala Harris, terrible governance, okay? Look at what has happened on the world stage. Look at what has happened domestically, border wide open, crime out of control in all of these liberal cities that are run by Democrats. The economy is in shambles, inflation out of control. Democrats can't govern, okay? And when confronted about their lack of being able to govern, when tasked with personal responsibility and accountability for their failures, what you're about to see, guys, is typically how it goes, okay? Because Mayor Karen Bass, who's a progressive Democrat, was confronted as she flew back from Ghana, okay, her trip to Africa to see the Ghana president be inaugurated. Okay, she was in the homeland, right? She was flying back and she was confronted at the airport about what's going on in LA after she basically defunded the fire department. And what you're about to see, guys, is symbolic of our current Democrat leadership. Take a look.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. They're gonna come.
Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control.
Wow. 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 Again, that is symbolic of Democrat leadership. That is symbolic of the last 4 years, guys. I'm so serious. This is what you get when you elect Democrats, okay? No accountability whatsoever. I mean, at the very least, she could have came out with the canned response of, hey, we're trying to mobilize all the resources that we can. We're working with the fire department, law enforcement, everybody that we can in order to help out the people who, unfortunately, are being caught up in this wildfire, right? I mean, she could have came up with something, anything. I mean, she could have gave the typical canned response. But she said absolutely nothing at all. Just dead silence. Silence. Had nothing to say. Nothing to say. But hey, she made history. The citizens of Los Angeles made history by electing her as the first woman mayor, okay? First woman mayor elected to lead Los Angeles. How is that working out? And look, it gets even better. It gets better, guys. They had the first LGBTQ fire chief. Isn't that amazing? While the city burns to the ground, look, diversity, diversity, right? And look, it gets better. It gets even better, right? It gets even better. They don't have enough firefighters. Well, why don't they have enough firefighters? Maybe it's because they terminated firefighters due to the fact that they refused to take the COVID vaccine.
113 LA City firefighters have been suspended without pay for defying the city's vaccine mandate. In November, firefighters who had not submitted their vaccination status or requested an exemption were informed they would face suspension and termination. The policy requires city employees to be vaccinated by December 18th. The fire department says firefighters who continue to resist the mandate will be entered into the process of termination.
Yeah, again, this is supposed to be the competent governance that the liberal media keeps telling us about from the Democrats. The same people who basically systemically discriminated against white men when it comes to becoming firefighters. Yeah, they were probably firing mostly white men who refused to take the COVID vax. And now, all of a sudden, they don't have enough firefighters to help fight wildfires. Amazing how that works. Again, how is the woke diversity experiment working out for Los Angeles? They had a choice between what I would call a competent moderate Democrat in Rick Caruso. They had a choice between him and Karen Bass, who's a far left progressive. And they chose a far left progressive, probably because she's a black woman, right? We want to see a black woman in office. And when it comes time for the black woman to answer a damn question, she can't, as her city burned. And the people that she's responsible for, they literally can't breathe.
And of course, the air quality is also a big concern today across Southern California.
And it's not going to get much better because of this wildfire smoke, which will travel for miles. If you have some sort of respiratory illness, you need to be aware to take care of yourself.
Even if you don't live near the fires or see smoke, the Santa Ana winds alone can be damaging to your lungs. Circle of Health Denise Tador explains.
it can affect people and cause that increased shortness of breath, that increased chest tightness, that increased cough.
Pulmonary and critical care physician Dr. Robert Goldberg with Providence Mission Hospital often sees a rush of patients when the Santa Anas swoop in. The volatile high-speed winds carry allergens, dusty ash, and the fine particulate matter of past fires. These pollutants can send your airways into uncontrollable contractions.
When you have a situation where you have cold air, you have dust, you have particulate matter in the air, that can really affect people and cause that increased spasm and shortness of breath. It really affects people with underlying lung conditions such as asthma or emphysema or COPD.
Within minutes of the start of the high wind warning, fires broke out in the Pacific Palisades and briefly in the Hollywood Hills. Not only was particulate matter 10 microns in diameter a concern, the fires bring the threat of even tinier pollutants.
Those come from things like smoke or combustion, and those are extra small. Those can get really deep into your lungs.
Scott Epstein, planning and rules manager with the AQMD, says this week's wind event appears to be much stronger than what our region usually sees in an average year, with the potential to cause more widespread health problems.
Here's the kicker. Here's the icing on the cake. When she finally got back to LA to hold a press conference, she sounded like a damn fool.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
But hey, the mainstream media doesn't seem to be concerned about the incompetence of the Democrats. No. They're more concerned about Trump rightfully bringing attention to the incompetence of the Democrats.
He was at a press conference last night talking about the gratitude he has from President Biden, still the current president, who has offered federal assistance as much as he needs.
Yeah, and the question is, on the campaign trail, I think it was in October of 2024, Donald Trump was saying that if he got reelected, that he could withhold federal funds from California. Obviously, he has a sort of a feud with Gavin Newsom, a feud with almost every Democrat governor and senator and Democrat in general. And I think the question going forward is, could that happen? Is this something he's going to actually do when he assumes office? Because he does kind of see the federal government and the budget and the monies as his own, as to dole out as he wishes to his friends. And so I think that's the real question going forward. But it is sort of sad that this is the same president we're getting again, that there are no lessons learned. There's no sense that Californians are Americans, right? That they are struggling in these areas. 2 people have lost their lives. These fires haven't been contained at all. It looks like they're probably going to get worse before they get better, and that he doesn't have any sort of empathy and understanding about, over what these folks are going through. People have families there. Not only, you might have families still there. I have family there and friends as well. So it's just sad and still shocking.
Literally, as you're speaking.
Wow. This is the media, guys. This is the current state of our so-called news organizations. Instead of rightfully criticizing Democrats, no. They're more upset about Trump criticizing Democrats, right? When it's clear that their incompetence, their bad governance, the fact that they didn't prepare for this is one of the reasons why it's as bad as it is, okay? Because Trump, who they are criticizing, just 3 months ago on Joe Rogan was warning about California and their forest mismanagement, their water mismanagement, and how that leads to these wildfires getting out of control. But again, nobody wanted to listen to Trump because Trump is a crazy guy. Trump is a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are falling.
And it's about damn time. Governor Kate Brown, Governor Gavin Newsom, U.S. Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland, and tribal leaders all coming together to celebrate the world's largest dam removal along the Klamath River Thursday. The groups meeting at Iron Gate Fish Hatchery in Hornbrook. Last month, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued the final approval of the historic plan to remove 4 dams on the Klamath River in California and Oregon. The decision is a culmination of years of work on the project's licensee, PacifiCorp, Pacific Power's parent company, on the parts of Oregon and California, and several state and local agencies, along with several tribes.
The folks out there that exercised your leadership every single day, that dialectic that we had throughout this process, where you expected and demanded more. You expressed that at times, and sometimes it was uncomfortable. Other times it was absolutely justifiable. I just want to thank you for making this moment possible.
The Klamath Basin watershed covers 9.4 million acres, an area larger than 9 U.S. states. Leaders of the Klamath, Yurok, and Karuk tribes attended Thursday. The tribes say the project will revitalize nearly 400 miles of the Klamath River and its tributaries, hoping to help restore river health and fish populations.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Essentially, California has some of the best land, but apparently the worst management of the land, right? The worst government, because they go out of their way, the environmentalists, to lobby to protect these endangered species and these lands, to preserve these lands, to conserve these lands. However, it ends up backfiring because due to the conservation processes, what happens is that California doesn't have enough water and resources to fight the eventual wildfires that happen as a result of, for example, dead wood being on the forest floors, right? And when you don't clean these things up because you want to preserve the environment, you ultimately end up destroying the environment because the wildfires get out of control as a result of the conservation and environmentalist movement. Again, this is how ass backwards these California politicians are. This is how ass backwards the Democrat Party is. At some point, people got to wake up and realize Democrats can't govern, okay? And you do have some people on the left who are waking up to this reality, like, for example, Miss Anna Kasperia. She took to X to say California, and especially LA, is controlled by Democrats. They are responsible. No more passing the buck. Our mayor, who was in Ghana as fires exploded in our city, cut the fire budget by $17 million. Endless amounts of money funneled to bullshit, scammer, homeless nonprofits. We're the highest tax, yet we have encampments and squalor everywhere. Even worse, we don't have enough firefighters to respond to the absolute disaster we're experiencing right now. Rather than conserve the record rain we got last year, we just drained it into the ocean. We are a failing city run by a sick excuse for local government. You want to radicalize people against the modern Democrat Party? Send them to LA. Hey, could have said it better myself. Could not have said it better myself. Hey, like I said, man, at the end of the day, the best way to red pill a Democrat or a leftist is just to give them what they want. This is what they voted for. This is what they voted for. Incompetent government. And it doesn't matter whether it's at the federal level or the local level. The whole Democrat Party just seems to be plagued by incompetence. But yet, if you listen to the mainstream liberal media, Republicans can't govern. When Republicans are governing the best states in the union right now, right? The states where everybody is moving to. Why is that? It's because they're being governed by competent people. Once again, Democrats are engaging in projection. Every single time they come out here and talk about Republicans not being able to govern, they're just projecting what is true about the Democrat Party. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.